Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us for a session here, Fresh Food Management, Why is Fresh Important to Retail? Good turnout. Probably a third of the room isn't fresh, 2/3 of the room, their feet are just killing them right now, but we're happy to have you. Help me introduce our panelists here. We have Seamus Hines, CEO of Applied Data Corp. Randy Evans, senior, senior, you have a really
Held too long on senior.
Really long title, Randy. I tell you what, he's Senior Principal Industry Advisor. That's a cool title.
That's a nice title.
And John Deanna, Chief Strategy Officer with Berkshire Grocery Company. So I want you to consider for a minute why you choose one store over another. For many, what rises to the top of the list or near the top of the list is a fresh, quality, variety, perishables department, right? I mean, there's a few other things. What we've seen over the last few years is that the fresh departments are holding the largest share of growth within grocery stores. Additionally, Nielsen recently did some research and identified the fact that if fresh departments perform well, the rest of the store performs well. Conversely, if the fresh departments don't perform well, nor does the rest of the store. So there's a significant opportunity for retailers and through those trends from consumers. Fresh is an opportunity for retailers to differentiate, whether it's the spec within their perishable departments, following trends from locally sourced or ancient grains, or a high-touch service in their bakery or their meat departments. Many say, and it's an interesting analogy, that perishable is where food and fashion intersect. It's the opportunity for the retailer to create that experiential environment that can't be created in the center of the store. So, if done well, the store becomes a destination. I'm really excited to have this panel here today. Each one of them lives in the reality of strategically and operationally delivering or supporting a fresh experience for consumers, you, when you're not at work, to their customers. So why don't we go ahead and get started? So Seamus.
Yes.
We definitely don't want to insult the intelligence of the folks in the audience, but I thought it might be good for us to sort of level set when we talk about fresh. What are we talking about?
So we're talking about in the perimeter of the grocery store. We're thinking of items like rotisserie chickens. We're talking about the bakery, meat departments. Those are typically what you consider the fresh areas of a grocery store. In convenience, we're talking about the hot bar. We're talking about grab and go. The items that you're putting together that you're assembling in store.
Okay. John, is there anything in addition to that? I mean, you're a grocery retailer. You guys have been experimenting with a number of formats. What other types of fresh categories are now really coming out of that experiment?
Well, when you think about it, everything in the store now is code dated. So, I mean, you have to watch dates from a shrink perspective on every item in the store. So that's where markdown comes into play a lot. But as Seamus said, the perimeter of the store is really where it's at. But with click and collect and online and delivery, it encompasses a lot more now. Meal kits, a lot more prepared foods. There was a phrase coined a few years ago called grocerants. So that's kind of the model we're moving towards. And it is. Center store is going to continue to shrink and go online. And the perimeter of the store is where you're going to differentiate.
Randy, anything to add?
I think you guys covered it pretty well. I spent the first 25 years of my career in the meat department, so I obviously think the meat department is the center of the universe, and it's the cornerstone of dinner. Really, at the end of the day, fresh is all about food. It's what's for dinner.
Seamus, so I spent a few years as a produce manager, and I understand the benefits of implementing fresh item management. When I was there, I had paper, pencil, and a worn-out eraser, basically, when I was in produce. So,
Not a lot has changed.
not really. Okay. Well, let's get that change going. For those that are considering implementing fresh item management, where do they start? How do they get going?
It's all about getting visibility. So figuring out where you are on the continuum of paper and pencil to fully digitized processes. And it is in a lot of different areas, and it can involve a lot of different people. So it's important to really take a step back and say, okay, where are our recipes? Where are they being stored? Is it in Excel? Do we have them in a central area, location? Is one owner managing this? How are we labeling products? Where are the devices that we have? What devices are in our stores for labeling? And then what are we doing for inventory? How are we capturing it? Do we capture waste? And understanding those different components, who owns the different processes involved, what those processes were designed to do, and then what's actually being done in the store, because they can be very different, as we know. So it's first get visibility, and then I like to take a crawl, walk, run, fly approach, where you've got the visibility, you then begin to look at those recipes, take them digital, and then you'll bring that into a device management estate where you can print off labels with continuity, have consistency across, and do some of the basics, I would say, in fresh of traceability, grind traceability. We're looking at things like produce traceability now, all in the store, but sort of the basics and the building blocks of then getting to a place where you can capture inventory, have a perpetual physical inventory that you're keeping on fresh items. There's a lot of difficulty in fresh because there's transformation involved. What you sell out the door is not what you get and what you order. So it goes with a lot of complication. So then once you get the inventory components in place, you can start to do some interesting things. You've got your recipes, you're labeling. You can start doing things like production planning. You can forecast demand. You can anticipate orders, and sort of the flying approach would be making sure you're ordering the ingredients to fulfill that demand.
Okay. I'm sold. Randy, former meat guy, what's the challenge?
It's the, I like to say it's the digitization of the perishable or business processes, the fresh business processes. And back in the day when I was a meat manager, it was completely invisible. I had my inventory, but nobody knew what my inventory was but me. I had my strategy for cutting and filling the cases. Nobody outside of me understood what I was up to. If I cut too much meat on Tuesday, I paid the price for it on Thursday, but the company didn't know what I was up to. They found out when the P&L came out a quarter later. And at this, that's an invisible manual business process. And what we're espousing, what we're talking about here is digitizing the process, getting the data to be off the Excel or the Big Chief tablet and into the technology so that the entire enterprise can see it. The category manager, the buyer, the distribution processes, even the vendor can understand the information. What's in the store? What's my overstock? What's my understock? What's my shrink going to look like tomorrow? Not next week. just becoming a real-time visibility to the information that's going on in all those perishable departments.
So, John, what's your experience been with fresh item management?
Well, I think the first thing that we focused on was our recipes and our data, and making sure it was consistent, making sure the same ingredients were being used across all of our different stores, making sure that we had the local assortment of the recipes that we wanted in different areas that we operate in, and that took a while. It really did. It took a while to get all that data pulled together, and then to make sure that we had the right costs associated with the right ingredients that then ducktailed into the recipes that were being made at the store, so we could see that item level profitability we were making on that item. From there, it went to inventory visibility, and then into forecasting. We spent a lot of time, and continue to spend a lot of time, because retail is high turnover, getting our employees used to doing the processes and making sure they're doing the right processes that make the forecast accurate. But it's been extremely beneficial to us. As Seamus said, the visibility to what we see now is tremendous. And it also allows the category managers that are over the fresh department to plan what kind of recipes they want to roll out. And like I said, as those areas become bigger and more strategic as a part of your business, more prepared foods are going to roll out. And so those recipes have to be specific, the labeling has to be specific, and the control, the shrink of those items have to be spot on.
So, if you were to get a call from another retailer saying, hey, we're thinking about doing this, what's a couple of the ahas that you walked away with that you would sort of say, hey, watch out for this, or we would have done it a little bit differently than this?
So I think, like I said, starting with the data is crucial, and making sure that you really have that consistency. I think not underestimating the training that has to be involved with your store personnel and getting them comfortable with the tool. You've got a lot of people out there that have been working in delis for a lot of years. They consider themselves as chefs, and in their own right, they are. And now you're telling them, use these ingredients and do it this specific way. And so you've got to allow for a little bit of innovation as well. There's got to be a process in there for innovation to where they can submit recipes back up that might be a local favorite and get them digested into the centralized system and pushed back out to them.
Okay.
But I think the data to this process is key. It is the key to it all.
I think
making sure those same ingredients are being used and they're not substituting ingredients as they make the recipes.
And I think as a retailer, correct me if I'm wrong, many of the initiatives that we're working on in the industry today, it all comes back to having data that's accessible, accurate, not disparate in multiple silos. And the minute it's updated, it immediately becomes aged in the very next minute. So data continues to be a challenge. Seamus, so we have a lot of technology, right?
Yeah.
Where do you see the technology in terms of emergence and new technology that's coming into play to support perishable, support fresh?
So I think a lot of the technologies that many are familiar with and they're hearing a lot about play in fresh too. We're looking, we see the adoption of enhanced forecasting through AI, machine learning. That's definitely prevalent. Taking the tools into the cloud and working with more web-based applications to give some flexibility to do more data crunching capability to run things like AI. We see more of that. Certainly, more and more innovation on waste capture, inventory capture, in-store capabilities. We want to have, as John mentioned, people adopt this and use it, and it's a big change. So getting them excited about usability delivering actionable results in a real time as you can get basis. Those are the types of things that we're seeing a lot of demand for, and that can be through things like mobile applications, getting more mobile solutions out in the store. So a wide range of things, but I would just bring back to the kind of earlier discussion we had in implementing a FIM solution, and just highlight that start with the basics first. Super important that you've got that visibility and you're gathering accurate data, because it's just absolute garbage in, garbage out otherwise. You've really got to make sure that you make those connections with the database before you add on some of these more sophisticated pieces of technology. And it's got to be something that's usable. Don't avoid the complication and clutter. If you're going to deliver something in store, make sure that it's very clear, it's action driven, and something that's worked into their workflow. So they're not going out to a place that's unnatural for them to type in information, write it down, et cetera.
Okay. Randy, help the audience understand. So we have somebody from SAP here and we have somebody from ADC here. So how is there connectivity between your two organizations related to fresh item management?
Sure. So if you think about store level business processes, right? I've got to pull reworks. I've got to determine what's wrong with the product. I've got to use reason codes. I've got all of these kind of technical store functions that have to happen in order to pull off a fresh item management solution. I got to keep my inventory updated. There's just a bunch of steps in there. I got to use a scale to transform it. I've got to price it, and those are all things that when SAP looks at what we do, we are absolutely down to the store level inventory management, but we don't do scale management. We don't necessarily have those specific business processes out of the box, and it's much easier for us to partner with a company like ADC than to go build it ourselves, because it'll take us a lot longer to build it, and they've already got it. So we've figured out how to connect the tools so that we send them information, they send us back information, and we're able to connected deliver better results. The other thing that I'd like to say about the conversation about technology, I see we have an artificial intelligence icon, which kind of cracks me up a little bit. It's really about taking what they do today and bringing it into a technology, digitizing it, right? They got to pull reworks. Today, they pull reworks, they process them, they do everything that they have to do to make it work. They just don't capture it, right? It's just happening. It's just happening. And tomorrow, they're going to pull reworks and they're going to capture it in a tool, right? And the tool then connects the dots, brings that digital information out from the manual process into something that not only can they use to drive better businesses and better results, but the entire organization can then see and drive better results. Category managers that know what inventory is in their stores are going to do a lot better job of acquiring inventory to support what's coming next, versus well, I hope they buy it, or I hope we sell it. I bought 40 loads of rounds and we're going to send them all out and I hope they sell it. Well, in the future, that's not acceptable. In the future, it's based on what the customer wants, and when I buy 40 loads of rounds, I need to have a place to sell those 40 loads of rounds. And I need to know what my stores are going to do to support that acquisition. In today's world, with the manual business stuff, it works to a certain degree, but in the future, it's got to be better. Got to be more profitable. And that's how we do it.
There's a real push lately to move stuff to the cloud. What potential some pitfalls or challenges, things that I should think about if I want to move a system that I've had embedded in my own infrastructure and move it out to the cloud? Are there inherent challenges or something that they need to be thinking about?
I think it's not so much the challenges of moving it there. I think it's more about the opportunities. I think and changing the mindset. we've come from a world, I think, in retail technology where it's been here's a product. Take this product and you're going to manage it. I'm going to sell this to you. It's going to be transactional, and when you have a problem, you're drowning, call me. But it's good luck. Yeah. And we're moving towards, like in many industries, a relationship-driven service. And it's, they call it software as a service for that reason. It's not only taking it and, off of your physical servers and into the cloud like Microsoft Azure, and running those cloud services, the updates and things like that. But it's also, you're involved annually, quarterly, daily with your business partner to make sure that they're getting the outcomes that they want with the software that you're putting in there. You're evolving the software more rapidly. You're going to give more updates, more enhancements, and you're avoiding the barrier. You're eliminating those barriers to sort of upgrades and getting access to new things that can really drive the business forward. And there's a lot of new things coming in fresh retail technology.
So sort of as we all learn to do more with less and faster, SaaS is probably one of those great ways to look to help us with our resource smoothing out if we
Absolutely.
can. Yeah. Okay. For each one of you, so let's start with John. Thinking out, the next 5 to 10 years, where are things headed next?
So, I think, and I'm having trouble hearing you, so
I can appreciate that. We got some heavy machinery going by.
I'm trying to read your lips over here, actually. So you're saying
the next 5 to 10 years, where do you see fresh management over the next 5 to 10 years? What's coming down the pike in your opinion? Where do they need to be thinking?
So I think one of the things is, as I said earlier, as we move towards kind of the model of a grocerant, there's going to be more and more prepared food in the store. It's going to be more and more crucial to manage that, both from an inventory shrink, consistency, being able to make things and deliver them to the house or have them pick them up at the store through click and collect or one of the delivery services. All that is going to become more and more important to your organization. And so you got to prepare for it. And with that's going to come, as we've seen with lettuce and some other things, more and more regulations. As we be able to source this product from around the world quickly, more and more there's going to be regulations that we have to adapt. And so you're really going to have to partner with somebody that can keep up the regulations. I think that's where the cloud is going to be somewhat of an advantage, is being able to hit those regulations very quickly. And to me, there's going to be, from an overall business model, there's going to be 3 customers that in the future that you have to meet their needs. One's time-starved, doesn't like to cook, wants to come in, grab something for dinner, and go home. The next one likes to cook but doesn't have time to do all the prep work. So they want to come in and grab a kit or something that looks really good, take it home, cook dinner in a half an hour, and be done. And then you're going to have the chef that walks in that wants to pick all the produce, that wants to look at all the ingredients on everything, and wants to have the recipe and even some help on how to do the recipe sent to them or be able to talk to somebody in the store. And so I think the heart of all that's going to be fresh item management.
Randy, thoughts?
I agree with you, John. I think the importance of the perishable departments in a store is going to escalate, because as the dry goods either become automated or delivered, with I can't think of the name, but things where they're like, I order my dog food through home delivery service, and I get a bag of dog food every 3 weeks, right? That's going to happen to the dry goods, right?
Auto replenishment.
It just comes to my house, and they charge my credit card, and it's all good. When that starts to take place, the percent of business for perishables is going to expand and explode. And so the importance of it to the bottom line, to sales, to the structure, to the infrastructure, to the whole business model of a grocery store is going to really be focused on fresh. It's going to be way more important than it is today. But I also think that when as you start to digitize, you're going to be able to do things that you haven't even really thought about today. automated recipes, using a profile to determine the customer needs. I have type 2 diabetes, so I don't eat a lot of bananas, and I don't eat a lot. I mean, all of those things will be incorporated into my relationship with my grocer, and then we'll be able to build this whole construct around how I interact with it. It's becoming more personalized, and 10 years from now, it is incredibly, I mean, we don't even really understand how personalized it's going to be. So the process, you have to go to acknowledge that that's the truth that's going to happen, and then start to plan, how do I get there? What do I have to do to ensure that I'm ready for that when it takes place? Because it's taking place now, whether you like it or not, it's happening. So it's really understanding that that's where you got to go, and what do I have to do to get there?
Seamus?
I would agree with all of that, and just to piggyback off of the sort of omni-channel discussion, it's going to put a lot of pressure on stores to manage inventory accurately. You show up to a grocery store and you're unannounced and they're out of the item you want, rotisserie chicken, that's one thing. But if you're coming home from a softball game with your kids and you've ordered on your phone something to pick up and it's not there, you've created an unhappy person. And I think it's just going to really raise the importance of managing those inventories. And the other part of it, in the delivery aspect, I think there's going to be more to come technology-wise to give the consumer confidence that product had been, through the different control points and touch points, been handled properly. And I don't think that it's necessarily done today, and to the extent that we'll see in the next 5 to 10 years, as the popularity grows, it'll definitely become a need.
Okay, great, thank you. So I want to talk to you about this a little bit more. Where are you at?
220.
220.
Just down here, yes.
And the SAP booth, which you like,
I don't
the
even know
huge,
what the number is, but it's on the,
it's like a city square block upstairs,
Yeah.
isn't it?
you can't miss it.
I'll be at the bar.
Yeah.
Hey, John
I think
will
I'll
be at
go
the bar.
join you, John.
So anybody wants to talk to John,
Before day.
find him at the bar. Well, I appreciate each one of you taking the time to have the conversation with these folks. Thank you for spending a few minutes with us. Your feet should be ready to go again and hit the floor. So we thank you and have a great rest of the day.